You either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. We've seen it happen, or I've seen it happen so many times with so many individuals, right? You have an individual who has been successful, has been seen as quote unquote like the hero, right? The person who everyone wants to be and who everybody admires. And then there comes a time where they're vilified as the hero, as the person that is celebrated and praised and has all of this recognition. You're provided with so much opportunity, right? So much leeway, so much advantages over everyone else. When we talk about going from hero to villain, like it could happen to the best of us. Because the higher you go, like you go up, right? And you're leaving everyone down under you, and they're watching you ascend to these great heights, right? And your undergarments are exposed. And at some point, someone could look up and see something, and if they see something that don't look right, they can speak on it, they can publicize it, and you have to answer to it, right? So just try to have some clean draws. Always have some clean draws. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the new episode of the Myles Hype Podcast. This is Myles Jr. I'm your host. And as always, the vision and goal of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist. Always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right. We trust everyone is doing good out there. Pray that you have are having a good week, a good month, a good year up until this point. I want to have a conversation. About heroes and villains. But I don't think it's going to be the type of conversation you may think, right? If you know me, you know one of my most favorite, I'd say top two. One of my top two favorite movies is The Dark Knight.
Your favorite movie? You will watch this every day, all day, for a year.
I've seen it quite a number of times, I must admit. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. The Dark Knight. Watch it today. And share with me your thoughts on how you feel the movie is. Anyway, it's one of my favorite movies. And there's a quote in the movie, very popular quote that, since the movie came out, I've been hearing this quote, on a consistent basis. And that quote is, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. And I was kind of I watched the movie recently, and obviously that quote, heard the quote, and I was reflecting on it once again, and it sparked an idea for a conversation. And the conversation I wanted to have is, okay, sure, that fantasy of being Batman and being the hero so long that you eventually can or will become the villain. Even though that's a fairy tale or a made-up story, that really transitions into reality, right? We've seen it happen, or I've seen it happen so many times with so many individuals, right? You have an individual who has been successful, has been seen as quote unquote like the hero, right? The person who everyone wants to be and who everybody admires. And then there comes a time where they're vilified, right? For whatever reason, right? Sometimes it's outside reasons, sometimes it's internal reasons with that individual, but they're vilified. And people quickly forget, all the good that you've done. They forget all of the positive things, the positive influence, the positive impact that you had, or that they had on the world. And it just got me to thinking of, man, this type of situation could, it could happen, but I think it could also be prevented. I think there are ways where, or how we could avoid the villain trap. And as hard as it may be, right, the bigger the hero you become, the easier it is for you to become a villain, right? Because as the hero, as the person that is celebrated and praised and has all of this recognition, you're provided with so much opportunity, right? So much leeway, so much advantages over everyone else, right? You because you're the person who is in high demand, right? You help do so much for others, whether it's other organizations, other individuals, other persons. And then they allow you favor. You get all of these things that come along with the recognition and the celebrity that you have. And then there are these situations can cause us to like fall, right, or to become arrogant or complacent, to become individuals who feel like we are above the law or higher than like individuals around us. And that's usually where the pendulum starts to tip, and it swings in a different directions, and we experience unfortunately the negative aspect of the hero that they have attained. And there are always some factors that contribute to the descent of a hero, right? A lot of the times it's personal flaws. And I mentioned, before, it could be external pressures, like people outside of them just putting so much on them, putting so much on their lives that they turn to other vices, right? Whether it be drugs, whether it be alcohol, whether it be other personal ills that they may have come across throughout their journey. And then they have moral dilemmas, right? They lack the morality of doing unto others as you have them do unto you, putting people before you, treating people how you want them to treat yourself. There's these factors that can contribute to the demise of a hero. And I think as individuals, like we all want to be successful in life, right? And sometimes that success affords us the ability to have a lot of influence and a lot of power in different areas of life, in different aspects of society. And with that power comes a responsibility to manage and maintain a certain level of respect, a certain level of ethics, a certain level of morals as individuals. And I think it's when we start to neglect those ethics and morals that we came into the situation with, that we start to experience the process of being vilified.
But I do think that we have to take it from an angle of, is this person actually a villain, or am I just at a level where I have to move differently, where I can't do the same things I used to do? I can't give you the same access because I see what it has done to you. Because there's a lot of times when we see people who have ascended to a level that we never thought they would. We start to hear, oh, they've changed, they're a different person because they're not doing for us what we want them to do, so they're vilified. So are they really a villain, or it's just they are moving differently?
Right, and that brings up a good point, because and that's why I brought up the point of becoming vilified, right? Because becoming a villain with your personal flaws or like personal things that you experience, that's one thing. But being vilified because of like external factors, and that's like public perception or a lie that was spewed that tarnishes your credibility or tarnishes your character, those affect the way the public looks at us, right? So even though we can still be deemed a villain, like there can be times where we don't do anything, like it's not our fault. It could be propaganda that is spread in the public that affects us and that can call us to become the villains. Can't avoid those situations, right? And I think sticking to sticking to who you are, sticking to the character that you've built, right? Because public perception changes. on a consistent basis, right? It could be the times that we're in. Like, you know, a good example is this Me Too movement that has happened, right? That we have gone through, and I'm kind of still going through even right now. You know, 20 years ago, this didn't exist. 20 years ago, these victims and the people who have gone through these situations didn't have a voice, right? And these powers that be were able to run amok, right? To do what it is that they wanted to do because they held so much influence and held so much power over their victims. And, you know, that encompasses the personal flaws that we're discussing about, right? Because you can become the villain because of the flaws that you have. And I think a lot of the times, like when we become successful and we gain a lot of these things that come along with success, it only heightens our flaws, right? It doesn't create flaws. Like, I don't think there's anyone that is operating in a negative sense or operating as someone who doesn't appear to be, you know, a law-abiding citizen or a good citizen of any society. I don't think the celebrity or the success turns them into that. I just think it highlights that aspect of them. So a lot of the times, like, it's an internal thing. It's an internal change, an internal strengthening, an internal transformation that needs to happen. Because, again, the way that we're celebrated or the success that we achieve only highlights or heightens the flaws that we have inside. And, you know, babe, you know, you and I have this conversation all the time. Like, I am always thinking about and conscious of my flaws. I try to understand who I am, right? I try to have a lot of self-reflection and understand, like, where are my weaknesses, what trigger me, the things that I need to work on, the things that I need to avoid, to not put myself in situations that could cause, you know, everything that I've been working on and building up until this point to become obsolete. You know, it's crazy how one decision that we make could change everything. And I think, you know, that's the almost biggest drop that most heroes could experience, right? In just making one bad decision. Like, you could look at Will Smith, right? You know, used to be loved. I don't even think
he's still loved.
Yeah, but not as much as
I think
he used to be loved.
I think he's loved. He just had a lapse in judgment.
One lapse? You think it's one lapse?
Yeah, I mean,
not one lapse, bro.
I think he'd.
I think, like, the person or the persona that he was giving off from, like, bro, who don't love the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Well, I think the black folks still love Will Smith
because I think we understand.
Yeah,
right. We understand. At least, let me not say we. Let me personalize it. Like, I only could imagine the pressure that he was under, like, at that time, at that age, being so successful, and then still trying to be that person when that's not really who you are, right? This is someone that you personified on TV, that people loved and people related to, and we just assumed that that's who you were. And, you know, obviously he was an entirely different person, but he had to kind of live in this persona and bring that into reality. And I think that's what kind of affected him the most, right? And that's why I say, like, we have to understand who we are. We have to separate the myth from, like, the actual person.
Well, I actually think it's also about having the right people around you.
It's always about having the right people
let's
around
just
you.
use an example, Rihanna. Rihanna's had the same people around her since she came in the industry, and she is the same person we have come to know and love. Like, everything about Rihanna is authentic. She knows who she is. What you see is what you get. And I think that's one of the reasons she has been able to stay not, you know, who she is without becoming this villain type of person, because we know her. She's authentic. She is true to who she is, and what you see is what you get. And it's also about the people around you holding you accountable and ensuring that you don't make missteps or you don't, you know, get too big for your head and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, you sometimes the people that we put around us for a reason, right? So a lot of these persons or these heroes have a team around them that are a bunch of yes men. Right?
No, but I mean, like, people who you come from the ground up with. Like, she's always with her best friend who came with her from Barbados. She has the same circle. Rihanna doesn't strike me as a Hollywood person. Like, you know, in the beginning, maybe she was hanging with a lot of the stars and stuff, but now her circle looks as tight as it was from she came into the industry.
Yeah, but I mean, we only seeing what they want us to see. Though.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing because we ain't heard nothing about Rihanna. And she's still a hero to many of us.
Fair. Boy, you was a Rihanna stan. She say many of us.
I am a Beyonce stan.
Oh, man.
Yep, absolutely.
And Beyonce's a good example, right? Beyonce, makes good music, doesn't really bother anyone.
At all.
But is always vilified, right? Even in when she tries to like branch out and try new things musically, she just released this country album, and these country artists like went in.
It's more about racism and trying to keep black people and black women in their place.
Fair, but I mean, I think it has a lot to do with the jealousy and envy of her coming into their genre, and obviously gonna do much better than they've been trying to do all of these years. So all of that is involved. Like, you could be the sweetest person, you could be the nicest person, you could do things the right way, but you just rub a segment of society the wrong way, and they spew these propagandas, they spew these lies about you that can affect or tarnish your reputation, and it could affect your public perceptions, which could cause you to become a villain at some point.
Yeah, and I think it's also true too, because the media is responsible for so much of it, because like we see with a lot of the sports guys, a lot of these, like when Shaq used to do Shaq in a Fool, and his comments and stuff used to cause the guys to not get it. I think it is like him kind of influencing their contracts or whatever.
Well, it was JaVale McGee.
Yeah.
Like JaVale McGee, and bro, this is part of the reason why I don't always like the way these black sports commentators, specifically former athletes, like how they talk about current players or like these younger players, right? Because like it's almost as if like y'all forget that you guys were that age at some point, and we live now in a different day and age where everything is seen. Like there's a camera phone just about everywhere, right? And whatever you do, it's a chance that it's going to be recorded and exposed at some point. And I feel like, to your point, with Shaq doing Shaq and the Fool, and like constantly spewing these negative comments about JaVale McGee, it literally affected the perception of teams on JaVale, right? And it wasn't until the Warriors brought him into their clubhouse that people realized, like, oh, JaVale ain't the person that we perceived him on Shaq and the Fool. Like, yeah, he made some mistakes, and he looked a bit awkward and disorganized or disoriented in a few of the plays or whatever, but that's not who he is in totality as an NBA player. And I think he was able to come out on the other side of that because he kept his head down, he kept working, and I think he knew his talent and knew about much about himself to say, man, I could change that perception. I could change that idea of what people have of me in the public if I keep doing the work. But a lot of people can't do that, right? And I think that's where public perception or like external factors or external pressures can affect the way we are either seen as a hero or seen as a villain.
And I also think too, like, now it's even tougher because back in the day, you had responsible journalism. You had only people who were accredited who can make comments on certain things. Now everyone has Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and you can podcast. You could say anything you want, it not be verified, and it spread like wildfire, and people take it as a truth. And like, even if it's debunked, there are some people who will never look at the true version of what happened, and you will always be seen as this person, or you did this or you did that. So it's just more difficult to exist in today's society. Yeah,
because they say the truth doesn't matter if the lie is more entertaining.
Exactly.
Right. So if the lie provides clicks, the lie provides this viral sense of spreading of the news. Like, the truth ain't gonna matter. People ain't gonna care about the truth.
And let me add this piece in, because I studied journalism in school, and every time I see something, there are things that I ensure that I do before I start spreading it. I go, I double check, I
Mm-hmm.
read it, make sure it's from a reputable source. I Google to make sure a few other people are reporting it. And this is funny because a lot of times my husband would come to me and be
Who's your
like,
husband? Why are you talking to me?
my husband would come to me, Chara would come to me and say, oh, babe, you see this? And I'm like, where you get this story from? And it would be from a website like shootmydog.com. And I'm like, babe, this is not a real website. Like, then he'd be like, oh, okay, then I didn't even. And that's how, like, no one checks anything.
Now that's a real life example. Like there's this Twitter handle, I think it's called it's a basketball page that puts out basketball news, but with ball sack. Yes, that's what it is. Ball sack sports, bro. Like I could remember like the first time like me and my boys got caught up in one of their salacious headlines, right? And it was something crazy. It was literally something that.
Was it the Draymond thing where there was like he choked
Steve Kerr? Possibly. I can't remember. But I just remember like it went viral, right? And even ESPN picked up the story and they posted it on their socials. And then they had to retract the statement because like, and it just shows like no one tries to confirm anything or validate anything that they hear, right? They just see something, and if it makes 90% of it makes sense, like just the person, the reputation of the person or the situation, and you'd be like, yeah, this makes sense. This possibly this got to be true, right? You just kind of run with it, and that's just like that in the blink of an eye. Like you can go from hero to villain just because of public perception, because of these external pressures, because of not only the moral dilemma that we experience as individuals, the moral dilemmas that like these environments or these societal areas or persons go through because they don't want to do their work. They don't want to do the confirming or the validation of the information that is being circulated. So when we talk about going from hero to villain, like it could happen to the best of us, and I think it's on us to again be self-aware. Self-awareness is so key in all of these situations, right? We have to understand that as society, like the makeup of society is to build us up, to break us down, and it's a crazy reality to accept. But it's something that we have to understand is happening everywhere. Like think of like your favorite celebrity, think of your favorite sports guy, your sports team, your favorite actor, your favorite whoever, right? Someone that you admire and you love what they do. Just think of different situations that they have been in their lives. The love that they've received at a certain point that turned into hate in another moment because someone was envious, someone was jealous, someone was upset that this person got a shot that they didn't, and it just takes one not even I wouldn't say one truth, one lie, right? One lie can change everything.
Like
him too. Yeah, like
they say they even crucified Jesus.
Yep.
If they could do it to him, they could do it to you.
Always. And it's I think it's on us. If we're truly like the individuals that we say we are, right? The lie is only going to have a certain level of effect. But if the lie is who we are, or it wouldn't be a lie at that point. But if what is said is who you are, then that's where the personal flaws come into play, and it's when we start to see like the true colors of this individual, and that affects us for the long term. So I implore us to always try to be the best version of ourselves and strive to be the best version of ourselves in every aspect of our lives. That's why we need to consistently be working on ourselves. Because if you want to be successful, which I hope and believe all of us want to be, then we're going to, once we achieve that success, we're going to get into these situations where we're tempted, where we going to get into these situations where we see opportunities that we can take advantage of, either take advantage of situations, take advantage of individuals, But it's on us to do things the right way. It's on us to treat people how we want to be treated. Because I feel like in the long run, what we do in the dark is going to reflect on who we are, right? And it's going to help us, right? So let's say you go through a situation where, a lie is spewed and it's believed for whatever reason, and you have to go through this process now of rebuilding. There are going to be those persons around you that believe and that know that you've proven yourself to be, who believe that who you've proven yourself to be, and are going to give you certain opportunities to build yourself back up. And chances are you're going to be much stronger in that build than you was in the build before. But the onus is on us to be prepared and to be, to be nearly flawless, right? And again, we're not going to be flawless individuals. We're not going to be perfect, but as close to perfect as we could be. And I think the way we can get to perfection is just being aware of what we aren't good at, what we aren't perfect at. Like, be aware of our flaws, be aware of the things that we need to work on, be aware of the things that trigger us. And I think as we consistently continue to work on those and develop ourselves and strengthen ourselves in those areas, then when the hard times come, because we have now perfected or close to perfected ourselves in those areas, that's going to pull us through those hard times. But again, it's on us to be aware that, and to know that, hey, if you could be the the hero today and the villain tomorrow, life is seasonal. The world works in a cycle. And the world builds you up to break you down, and they enjoy breaking you down more than they do building you up. So just staying true to you and just being a good person, man. I think the person who we are, right? It goes a long way. The positive effect we have on individuals, it goes a long way. And I think that's how we build a long-term success and become the hero that we know we could be, and we can be that for a long period of time. All right. Want to say something, babe?
No, it reminds me of a quote your dad said: the higher you get, the more people see your underclothes, so you better wear clean underclothes.
Gotta have on clean drawers, bro. Everyone's seeing your dirty drawers. And that's such a relative quote to what we're talking about, right? Because the higher you go, like, you go up, right? And you're leaving everyone down under you, and they're watching you ascend to these great heights, right? And your undergarments are exposed. And at some point, someone could look up and see something, and if they see something that don't look right, they can speak on it, they can publicize it, and you have to answer to it, right? So just try to have some clean drawers. Always have some clean drawers. So that brings us to the point of the poem where I leave with you a milestone. And the milestone for today is: every hero is a villain and every villain is a hero. It just depends on who you ask. Again, I think that the perception of a hero and the perception of a villain is just based on who we are, where we are, who's around us, who's looking at us, who's speaking, who's spreading the news. So just understand that that's not really something that you have control of. Like, we could want to be perfect, we could want to be the hero in different situations, but we could easily be the villain. But what they can change is who we are on the inside, right? So continue to build your character, continue to build the person that you are, the person that you want to be, the person that you see yourself being, who influences, who impacts, and who positively affects those around them. And I think as we continue to do this, we will, even if we are vilified, we'll always come out on top as the hero. All right. So that brings us to the end of this pod. Again, hopefully I shared some good insights with you. As always, the goal of this pod is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist. Always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right, until next time, you guys stay blessed.